In this lesson, we are going to configure priority groups on F5 LTM. But before we start the configuration, we first need to know what a priority group is and how it works. Priority group is a way of telling BigIP that it should prioritize a group of pool members over others. And it's different from load balancing methods because load balancing methods decide how traffic is going to be distributed between pool members. But in priority groups, we first specify how many pool members we want to have available at a time. Then we assign a priority number to pool members, and members of the same group will have the same priority number. Then BigIP will prioritize the groups with a higher priority number. So basically, a higher priority number means higher priority. In our lab, we have 3 web servers, so we will create 2 priority groups. Server 2 and server 3 will be in priority group 8, and server 1 alone will be in priority group 6. And we will also set that we should have at least 2 pool members available at all times. So what will happen is that BigIP will send traffic to server 2 and 3 because they are in a higher priority group, and server 1 will not get any traffic because it's in a lower priority group. But if one of the servers in the higher priority group, which is group 8, is not available, for example server 2, BigIP will automatically start sending traffic to server 1 on a lower priority group because we configured that we should at least have 2 pool members available all the time. So now to start the configuration, first here we have the lab setup. We have the BigIP with its external and internal IP address and the 3 web servers. We have the configuration utility open over here with the management IP address of the BigIP. We will log in with the username and password. Now that we logged in, we're going to open this local traffic, and inside this network map over here, if we open this, we can see that it shows over here all the configuration or the virtual servers that we have. We have this HTTP VS, which is the virtual server we created. It got the IP address of 192.168.100 and 144 with HTTP or port 80. Then we have this web pool and the 3 pool members, which are server 1, 2, and 3. Now we will close this. And to configure the priority groups, we have to go to pools and then open this web pool. Then go to members. And over here we have priority group activation. Right now it's disabled. It's disabled by default. So to enable it, we have to press on less than. And here we can type how many pool members we have to at least have available at any given time. And because we have 3 web servers and we are going to add 2 into 1 priority group, we will say that we need at least 2 members available. And then we will update. Now it's updated. Next, we have to add the priority group number to these pool members. And if we look over here, we can see that the priority group, which is active right now, is set to 0. So we will go to server 2. Scroll down, and over here on priority group we will type 8 and then update. Then we will go back and set the priority group number for server 1 and server 3. We'll go to server 3 first, scroll down, and add it to group priority 8, just like server 2. Now it's updated. We will go back to members and change the priority group number for server 1. Scroll down, and server 1 was going to be in a lower priority group, so we will type number 6 and update. Now we go back to members And we can see that the priority group of server 1 is 6, server 2 and server 3 are on the priority group number 8. Before we start testing this, I want to just disable this and show how this works without the priority group activated. So now we can see all the 3 pool members evenly because we're using round robin. So now if I activate the priority group and said that 2 members should be at least available and update, we should only see server 2 and server 3 because they are the ones on a higher priority group. So now we will start to go around and you can see that server 1 is not showing at all. We only have server 2 and server 3. Even if we go on, it's only server 2 and server 3. So right now, we cannot see server 1 because it's on a lower priority group. But if one of those 2 pool members is not available, then server 1 is gonna start showing over here. So we will disable server 2. And now we'll try to refresh the page again. And now we see server 1 and server 3 only because server 2 is disabled and server 1 came up to take the place of server 2. And if we get server 2 enabled again and go back and try to refresh the page, now we are only seeing server 3 and server 2 again. Server 1 is no longer receiving any traffic because the 2 pool members we need to be available are there. So again, BigIP is choosing the members from a higher priority group. So now we see how to prioritize some pool members over others in the same pool. But there is another situation. What if something happens wrong and all members are not working? For example, let's just disable all of them. So you have a problem going on and for some reason all of your pool members or all your servers are not working. In that case, users are not going to get anything. They will get this site cannot be reached. If you want to have an extra page or like a web page where you want to send your clients or people who are trying to browse your web servers, you can send them to another web page, for example, an apology page or anything else. We can do that by configuring a fallback host on HTTP profile and then assign the HTTP profile to a virtual server. So if we go to profiles, here we have this HTTP profile, which is a default profile on BigIP. We will open this, and here is the fallback host. Here we can set any URL that we want to send the users to whenever the pool members are not working. In this lab, we will set it to google.com. So if no pool members are available at the time of the request will be redirected to google.com. Now we will scroll down and update. Then to assign this HTTP profile to the virtual server, we will go to virtual servers. Then open this HTTP_VS virtual server. And in the status, it shows gray because it says that the children pool members might be disabled, which they are. We disabled them. Now we will open this HTTP virtual server, and if we scroll down over here on HTTP profile, we are going to choose the HTTP profile that we just added the fallback host to and update from down here. Now that's updated. If we go back to the web browser and refresh, now we are redirected to google.com. Another thing about the HTTP profile, if we go to statistics over here and go to local traffic, set the statistics type to pools, Over here, we can see the number of bits, packets, and connections each pool member received. But the requests over here are all 0. Now that we added the HTTP profile, these requests are also going to be counted because the HTTP profile helps BigIP look into layer 7 so that it will be able to count the number of requests that each pool member is getting rather than just looking at the connections, packets, and bits. So if we go back to local traffic, pools, open the web pool, go to members, and enable all these 3 pool members, then we are no longer gonna be redirected to Google if we go to the IP address. This redirection to Google only happens when all pool members are not working. So now if we go back to statistics, we can see the number of requests is no longer 0. For number 1, it's zeroed out because no requests were sent to server 1 since it's currently in a lower priority group. But if we look at server 2 and 3, we can see that each of them have got 13 HTTP requests, and that's now visible over here because we assigned the HTTP profile to our virtual server. So in this lesson, we learned what priority groups are and how to configure them. We know how to set different pool members in different priority groups, also how to configure a fallback host where we have a URL that users are going to be sent to if all pool members are not working.